Here for a reaction, former HUD secretary, the founder and chairman of the American Cornerstone Institute, Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Carson, thanks so much for joining us. I got to tell you, some of the guidance along the way, 54 years, sitting in that one seat, it's just too long. We talk a lot about term limits for members of Congress. There should be term limits for senior members of the administration as well, don't you think?
Well, don't get me started on term limits, but I will say I've known Dr. Fauci for decades. We belong to some of the same organizations. We've been honored together. And he's made some very good contributions to medicine, particularly in the area of AIDS. But I was on the task force, the coronavirus task force with him, and had a number of disagreements, particularly when it comes to therapeutics. And because people disagree, it doesn't make them anti-science. So I think that is something that he would do well to clarify. He will have an opportunity to clarify that. He will have an opportunity before the congressional committees to talk about many of the statements that were made that perhaps vary a little bit from veracity. And, I think one of the big problems that we have right now is people have lost faith in our public health authorities. And the way that we've handled COVID has been a big part of that, not talking about natural immunity, which we've known about for hundreds of years since the Civil War, and the tremendous benefit that it conveys to people. I think that was a big mistake, talking about vaccinating kids when they have almost a 0% mortality and very little morbidity from it. At least explain to people why should they get vaccinated if they're a child. And they're not doing that. And that would be something that would be very helpful in terms of restoring trust if they have an explanation. But I think the area where he could be most helpful is to really condemn the collusion of big tech and some of our federal law enforcement agencies in suppressing the opinions of people who disagreed with the CDC and with some of the recommendations that he put forth. That is not only a problem with medicine, that is a problem with freedom in our country. One of the fundamental pillars that made this into a great nation. We can't allow that kind of thing to stand. So he has an opportunity, I think, to rectify some of the mistrust and perhaps enhance his legacy.
Well, I think that is one of the fundamental problems, is the loss of trust, because you're right, when we need the CDC, when there is something that's going rampant, right now they've lost so much trust. I think so many people are so skeptical that they won't necessarily listen. And that's because of the way Dr. Fauci personally handled it. Every time he's on Vanity Fair and doing all these media interviews and writing a book and making $5 million during COVID, I think a lot of people just don't understand that.
No, I'm sure they don't. And maybe a little humility, just a little bit would go a long way. I was wrong, but we've learned some other things. Why is it that people in the political arena have so much difficulty saying those words?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. Just an ounce of humility along the way and saying, we learned from this. I mean, the United States of America, that's who we are, Doctor, right? We are self-critical, but we do it in order to make the world a better place. And I got to tell you, Doctor, I'm a huge fan of what you did and how you did it. I think you've personified how to do these types of things. We need more of that in our public servants, not less. So thanks for joining us tonight. I wish I could talk to you for the full hour, but I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, happy New Year. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. You too, Jason. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.